Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm, of course, author of the Robot Proof Recruiter, which I do show every single show. I don't know why, for some reason, very proud of it. I'm also a candidate engagement speaker and facilitator. Today, of course, I'm joined by my gorgeous co-host, the talented talent acquisition professional, the one, the only Mr. Glenn Martin.
Aloha.
And super excited to be speaking to Marvin Smith today, who's always been a gorgeous champion in my corner for many years, one of my favorite humans, unsung hero, quietly bubbling away below the radar. Marvin, welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. Much irreverence to follow.
Welcome.
And thank you for getting up so bloody early.
Yeah.
Wait me when it's over, okay?
Yeah. What time did you get up? 5:30, just to do the beard?
Yeah, I did do this. You know, I tried to grow it a little longer just to compete with Glenn, but it didn't work. So.
You only had a week's notice.
Seriously, Marvin, exactly. This takes some real laziness and lack of attention. You know, that's how you get this kind of length. But one thing we were talking to, we don't want this to be the beard show.
It is.
One thing we were talking about before we came on the show was obviously Katrina's post in the week that said, you know, you kind of had more experience than both of us put together, which we think is fantastic. So tell us.
It's not possible when he's only 21.
Yes,
it'd just be great to kind of get a little snippet of your journey in recruitment so far. You know, tell us about your background.
You know, it began when I got out of college, and I, like a lot of people, maybe in my generation, we were thinking not so much about technical disciplines, but we were thinking about social kinds of things. And so I was planning on going to law school so I could be a champion of the underdog, and that didn't work out too well. And so I went to an employment service looking for a job, and they hired me. And as I really enjoyed it, because I've always enjoyed people, you know, and trying to understand what motivates people, what makes them tick, kind of. And, you know, and that's how it started. And then, you know, it took off from there, and I had several different iterations in the third party world. Spent a lot of time in my own firm, and then that was all last century, and then this century has all been the corporate side of things. So,
well, you were.
Plus, you had 18 years in house. 19. What year are we in?
Yeah.
God, I lost the plot. 19 years in house.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's actually really impressive, because it hasn't been a big function in house for. Really, it's really become a thing the last decade, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I guess the biggest question I had personally was whether I could take the technologies and just the techniques that you learn in the third party world and take them into a corporate environment. And, you know, my first big gig was Microsoft. And, you know, can you imagine going into an organization like that, coming out of, you know, pretty the oldest guy in the room when you're there, but it worked. We were able to take some things that we were successful in the third party area and move them into corporate and work well. So enjoyed it.
For example,
you said something
sorry.
Okay. Yeah. What? No, you go.
Knowing how to use the telephone.
Yeah, that helps. I was shocked at that, but I think if I trace a thread through all that I've done, it's really about talent engagement and how to think about, you know, engaging segmented groups of people or affinity connected groups of people. And that's really what worked more than anything else. And so at Microsoft, I had a chance to work on communities of talent and do some recruitment automation and do some things that are pretty interesting every once in a while I had to pinch myself and believe that, you know, here was a guy that was working in a office by themselves going, how did I get here with all the smartest people in the world? So it's been a great project.
You said something that I thought was really interesting. I'm jumping in now. Katrina
I was
Collier.
just thinking we should explain why we both look a bit weird. You know, you've got a Christmas sort of shirt thing on, and I've got this silly thing on my head. Because I think the Americans tuned in will be like, "What the hell is wrong with those two this week?"
Yeah, I mean, Christmas Hawaiian shirt, right?
Well, I don't actually own. So it's Christmas jumper day, and I don't own one. Big surprise to anyone on the call.
I tried to find one earlier. I'm sure I had one, but no. So
I've got a bit in
Hawaiian shirt.
You know, I've been madly trying to watch all these British detective shows so I could get used to the language and so forth. And my wife is a big fan, and so I was walking through the other night, buzzing through her, as she was watching the television, and I was trying to catch the show, and she said, "Well, why don't you turn on the closed caption?" And so I did, so I could the words that were being there. And the last thing she said to me last night, "Will they have closed caption for you?" So,
oh, bless her, Glenn. We need to speak slowly with no accent.
So far so good. No, I just thought it was interesting.
We've met enough times. So we met at that amazing conference in New York, and I can't remember, that was 2014, maybe. Gosh, one of my first speaking gigs. And Marvin took some amazing photos of me. And then
you were great.
Seattle,
you rocked it. Yeah,
you've met me enough to know the accent.
And Anaheim, you were handing out little.
That was the best keynote I've ever done.
Yeah, it was great.
That was amazing. That was magical, that room. Anyway, Glenn, you were going to ask a question.
The
room was electric.
That's wicked. Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we were talking about it before the show, Marvin, and you sort of said, you know, to have a career in recruitment, you kind of have to continually reinvent yourself. And I thought that was just like a really, really great statement. And I just, for the audience, could you just kind of shine a light on what you kind of mean by that?
So I think a lot of us that start in recruiting, particularly in the third-party world, began with learning some foundational kinds of behaviors, activities that will make you successful. And so what I found, you know, I started when there wasn't much technology. The biggest change was not the fax machine. I was before the fax machine, was moving from a rotary dial phone to a touch-tone phone. So and recruiting training was, here's the yellow pages, start calling. And you know, it was fascinating though, that I think that what's different today is the people that are in recruiting. In the early days, it was really hiring people that were out of work salespeople and were, it looked more like, if you're familiar with the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, it looked more like sales techniques than it did a recruiting, you know, or what we think of today. And so the fax machine was important. Before the computers, there were word processing machines, and I was fortunate to be in business with some people that were much older than I and had been in the Navy and U.S. Navy and had experience working with computers or early computers. So he figured out how to make that word processing system really work for us. And so we learned how to market people, and we learned how to market jobs to people. So I was early on, I was well prepared for the internet when we came to, you know, email correspondence, because we did it direct mail. So it's taking those things, and as each technology comes along, you know, grab onto it. I was looking through, I was cleaning my office to prepare for this so that you could see my clean office space that I work in. And I ran across the first AIRS training book that I had. Yeah. Way back, you know, before I had a computer on my desk even.
Yeah. And they're still going strong, aren't they? They haven't gone anywhere. Yeah. It's amazing.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that in terms of reinvention, you as each thing comes along, it's goes faster. It's more involved, but it's still, we have so much information, don't we, about people? Yeah. You talked about, Katrina, about talent engagement and how you teach that in your book, which is on of strategic place, but you can't see it now.
Oh! I feel the need for a little.
Yeah, you need a little bit.
I know we need to have a camera movement here.
Yeah. So anyway,
but I think the fundamentals of recruitment haven't changed, have they? It's just that we can see so much more. I personally think the internet was the biggest changer. The one as far as everything's online, everyone's available, everything's there to see, compared to what it was, certainly when Glenn and I started out. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I just have to have a quick shout out to Vikram Singh, who suggests that you watch The Derry Girls on Netflix. That's Derry, in case my Australian is saying it incorrectly, and you will need subtitles. I know I'm backtracking.
That would be a little bit more like The Derry Girls.
The Derry Girls. I don't know how to say it. I don't watch it.
The Derry Girls.
So today's show is technically touted well, actually with a stop, but I use the Bitmoji for that. Technology isn't always the answer. So when we said to Marvin, what would you like to talk about? He wrote us quite a detailed email on some of the things.
Oh, yeah.
But the overall thread, I think, was quite a lot of frustration with technology getting in the way of what recruiters are doing.
Yeah, you're right.
Particular bit you'd like to start with?
Well, I mean, where would you start with that? that was like a recruitment manifesto. That was right.
Well, I felt like Marvin was like taking the technology vendors and going,
Well, I that came from a half-written blog post that I've never published, and it really was about
how honored are we?
You think about the things that we keep doing or keep seeing in this industry, and for since I've been thinking about technology for the last 15 years or so in large environments, the whole thing is about, well, you'll find passive candidates if you get our platform, and you look at the platform and it's all advertising based, and so I've yet to figure out if a person isn't looking for a job, why they would read an ad or even be in that channel. And so it kind of begins there, and we spend so much money on getting those active candidates, and it's all kind of a false premise that advertising based things will happen, and it doesn't. I've worked on one of the first sort of inbound recruiting platforms, and it's marvelous. I mean, you could scrape every job, you could manage every click, but if people aren't reading it, that's what happened. So today it's exciting. You say about reinventing. Well, now it's really going back to the things that we learned in the analog era, right? How do you communicate with somebody? And now it's with a level playing field. We all have the same data. So all of a sudden now it's about that email message we write. And, now I spend my time thinking about, well, what motivates people? Why did they leave jobs? Did they join companies? What are the, and it's not about us as a brand. It's about them as the audience. And I think that's still a lesson not everybody's learned.
There's a question for you, Marvin. I mean, in terms of, to your point around technology, identifying passive candidates, do you think perhaps recruitment teams are focusing on the wrong thing? So trying to identify passive candidates when they could actually be looking at their own network, their own referral network, that of the people in the business, and looking to really nurture that and access that as a first port of call, as opposed to pushing loads of, kind of content out. I mean, that strikes me as probably the most common sense place to start, but not a lot of companies do it. They offer like referral schemes and that, but they don't actually really meaningfully
remind people,
think about the network and that. What's your take on that?
Well, I've worked a lot with, that concept. So I was kind of an accidental tourist at my early days at Microsoft, in that the Xbox had some major errors, and so it was like $1 billion problem. And so Microsoft decided they need to build their own reliability engineering department, quality control. And so we did this amazing search, found half a dozen people for the team, and you know, was on its way. And I had like 2,000 people that were really high value people. And so I created a LinkedIn group for reliability engineers. And back in those days, you could, you know, push content through, and I completely automated this group. And
before they killed the group.
Yeah, well,
because why would you want to give people a reason to stay on LinkedIn and be active? No, let's kill the thing that keeps people active. Don't mind me having a rant. Sorry, back to you.
Yeah,
this isn't the Katrina Collier has a rant about LinkedIn show.
So
it wouldn't be the show without it.
So I got stuck on this idea that you could automate that relationship, and it turns out you cannot do that, and other people, you know, trying to take on other things, and at my current gig, I worked on a couple of different communities that are still working. I mean, they work fine. You know, they're very niche, and one is for military people transitioning out of the military, and you know, giving them skills and giving them learning and things like that, to coaching really on how to do it, and really career people works well. But in terms of you know, just engagement, I'm finding that if you can use, you know, more the CRM kind of technology today to engage people in iterative messaging and nurture paths and focus on things that they want to do. We all are lifetime learners, right? You know, we all have upskilled ourselves or reskilled ourselves as we go through our career journeys in recruiting. And so I think everybody's like that. Engineers are like that, so they're learners. So
we got a really good question here from Harvey Bennett. So are recruiters still using the same signals, in brackets, years of experience, number of positions, time in company, etc., to predict candidate success today as when you use the rotary phone? I quite like the fact that some people. No, it's a great question though, because actually it's like, passiveness, is it a predictor of success? But I just quite like the fact that some people won't even know what a rotary phone is. That just tickles me.
Phone, you know, some people are Googling that right now.
I know. I actually bought one recently on impulse.
Google image.
So I now have to have a home phone line just for my rotary phone that I bought on impulse just recently. Because I just loved it. It was like a flashback, but I want someone to be able to pick it up and hear something. It'll never get used, but
So
it looks gorgeous. It's bright orange. Moving on. Back to you, Marvin. Sorry.
No,
I'm doing anything to distract myself from the current climate in the UK, you see, so I'm being a bit weird.
Let's not go there.
We may be sharing
that. We're not going there.
We may be sharing that in common with the US and upheaval.
Next week. Sure. Right. Anyway, sorry.
But it is Friday the 13th, ironically, right?
Absolutely. And a full moon. We're just on the other side of the full moon from yesterday. So yes. So what do you think about that? So are we still using the same signals?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a certain percentage of people that are still thinking about their gut and hiring on those kind of things. But we have so many useful tools, I think, today that will help us in assessing people. And you know, I think that's the big change for me is if you think about just the email that you craft and how you reach out to people, and there are tools like Humantic and Crystal and things like that that'll kind of give you an idea of how to communicate with this person. You know, back last century, I got involved in learning about. I thought you'd like
way
that.
back.
Way back. By the way, Glenn and I were both working last century. We were proper adults.
Pre-internet. Okay.
We're not that much younger than you. We just, you know, we're really not. We've both got filters on our cameras.
One of the reasons I like to hang out with Jerry Crispin is he's older than me. So.
Oh my God, he's amazing. I love Jerry.
Yeah, he is. Isn't he great? That's just one of the reasons. So I think that neurolinguistic programming, NLP, not language programming, was really taught us about how to listen to the body language of a telephone conversation. So, in terms of better communicate with people, that some are visual, some are kinesthetic, so they feel things, and some are auditory, they hear the world, and that was kind of a breakthrough. I mean, you know, it came out of marriage counseling type of technology.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so all of those strides, I think, are being useful, and if we take the science that's there that tells us about people and add a way that we can better communicate with them, not to manipulate them, but to better get the message across. I think
it's funny you mentioned Crystal Knows, because I had a conversation with somebody just this week about that, and so apparently it has improved a lot in the last 18 months, because I haven't looked at it for a while. It was a bit like, they tell you to hey me, and if you write HCY to me, I just delete your email. It's like, until you know me, you're not allowed to do that. But anyway, moving on. But actually it was interesting, because one of the guys sat there and then went through the DISC process, and it was hilarious, because it says, like, doesn't like the tedious workflow models, and his whole big chunk of his job as like a head of recruitment process kind of thing is doing these workflows. He goes, I absolutely hate them. And this is exactly right. And so therefore, if it's used to move people into roles that they do like, then I think that's really good. And that's where it can be, they can be so amazing.
So I think that's the real connection, you know, that's going on with AI. I think is going to be useful, because it'll make us better. I sometimes question the value of AI, you know, that's built on a LinkedIn profile, public profile information, which a lot of the popular programs are doing. And, you know, we all have this, you know, it's a level playing field. Everybody has the same data, but how do you take limited data and limited information and and apply AI to it, and suddenly come up with this, you know, this tool you want to invest in?
Ain't gonna happen, is it?
You know what I'm going to say?
Isn't it?
You know
energized incompetence, right?
People can't write LinkedIn profiles. It's shit data. I say this every single show. How can you build a tool on it? Shit data in, shit data out. Sorry, don't mind me.
A slight tangential question. So, I mean, a lot of what you've learned is obviously through being a kind of recruitment professional over time, Marvin. So question for you, have you ever had some really useful training that's really accelerated your learning, or have you seen training delivered that you thought was really good quality that would, you know, kind of really ground a recruiter in their career? If you say no, I would be surprised.
No, you know, I haven't. I spend most of my time reading marketing blogs and marketing information, because I've been doing that for 40 years. Because my first aha was understanding that we have an intangible service, you know, and so a lot of marketing has been always written about, you know, we have, you know, look at our product, it's a better mousetrap or whatever, when actually, you know, you think of like insurance companies, you know, you want the rock, so they build their motto on something that's tangible. And so people are intangible, the process we get is intangible, the job becomes very real to them. And so I think it's that kind of training that really helped me in the early years. Now I'm reading, I'm not a client. In fact, in my role, I can't, or the company I work for, I can't you know, endorse any products. But there's a marketing white paper written by Jim on recruitment marketing or talent engagement. That's one of the best things I've read in years. I mean, they give you cadence, they give you data behind the cadence. It's really well written. People get
Who's it written by? Sorry, I missed that. Who's it written by, Marvin?
Jim, G-E-M.
G-E-M. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of them.
But it's a white paper, and it, you know, not touting their own product or their own platform. They're just talking about this is research, and so, you know, that's always training. So I read a lot of Gardner CEB. You know, I've been with larger companies that have subscriptions to that, and so that's very useful information. I try to keep learning all the time. You know, I sign up for a lot of webinars, leave a lot of them early, but you know, occasionally you'll find that you know, a great one
gets to the end and gets his sham points.
You know, so much of what we see is superficial, right? You know, it's sort of like trying to skim Christina's book. You can't skim it.
No, you cannot skim it.
Yeah. I wanted to read a little bit of it, and you know, and yeah, you're welcome. Oh, that way. Yeah. So, but you can't do that. So
no.
I read some sections of it, but
to me, that is such a compliment, because you're such an experienced recruiter, and even like literally, it's been from baby recruiters to experienced recruiters are going, oh my God, I'm getting something from it. And that's what I wanted. And that's why I've got so many other people contributing, because I wanted it to be gritty. Like you can pick it up and go, oh, whoa, I'm just going to go implement that, or go down rabbit warrens because I've, you know, put links to other places to go see some more.
Right.
And
it's almost a collective. It's a collective, you know. So it's I'm a little humbled to follow Susan, your guest last week, and you know, with such amazing work, you know. So it's.
Are we collectively saying then that to be a really successful recruiter is more about your mindset than what you could be taught or trained? So that ability to be curious is going to be the key to your success. Some people can give you the basic tools, but actually the longevity is really on you.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think it's, you know, I'm on the same team with a friend of mine, Dean DaCosta, and Dean is the tool man. I mean, he has a list of, you know, he's never met a Chrome extension he doesn't love, and yet if you talk with him, you know, he'll tell you your brain is the most important tool you have, you know, and so it's, you know, so for me, I choose to use a few tools that work well for me, always looking for new ones that are possibilities, but, you know, you can really become obsessed with this stuff. And it's just, you know, and what it leads to is, you know, a lot of people talking about all these different things you can use. But when it comes, you go to your desk, and I use the term energizing competence, because that's really, you think you know how to do it, and all of a sudden you're going, how did that work? That was like me with errors the first time. That's where I created the word was, you know, I went to it, I was excited, I had power, I could get behind these websites, and I go, okay.
My battery went flat.
Yeah. So
anyway, where is she going?
I digress. I digress.
My battery went flat. It's the technology isn't always the answer. There's a classic example of why.
You know, I have people.
Sorry, Marvin. I literally left the show.
Yeah.
Sorry, I left
right
really
in the middle of your
conversation. I'm sorry.
No, that's really interesting, though. You know, it's kind of like, and do you think when you start to build kind of recruitment teams, you've got to think about the dynamics there? So, i.e., the people that are really deep into the tools, complemented by those individuals that are really curious around the kind of, you know, the candidate engagement, etc. That's the real sort of balance.
Did you see an article called the T-shaped recruiter or the T-shaped recruitment marketer? It was written a month ago. I saw it on Recruiting Brain Food, right? You know,
on the Pungs. I think I recall that. Yeah.
And so I looked at it, and it was all written for recruitment marketing. So I sat down and sort of mapped out what we as recruiters have to know today.
Yeah.
You know, and I took the team I'm on and sort of dissected the skills. So we have, you know, Dean's one of the folks that are on the team, and he's, you know, what it says is we learn horizontally. We, you know, right now as a recruiter, we need to be a copywriter. We need to learn something about video. We need to learn a little bit about all these things. And that's why we don't have everything is, you know, hyper learning, but you look at a recruitment team and, you know, you try to balance out the skills. So on our team, we I work in talent engagement. There's two of my colleagues that are just brilliant at talent pipelines. I mean, they've been doing it for 10 years. One of my colleagues has 40% of our cyber hires comes from his pipeline. That's amazing. You're talking about a Fortune 50 company and the impact that a talent sourcer can have. And that's really where you see.
Hang on, I know your team. Now I'm trying to think who you're talking about. That's so annoying.
I'm talking about Pete. He's brilliant. And cool. We've doubled the size of our team and brought in some really talented folks to augment what we're doing. And we're impacting a significant number of hires for the critical skills that we need now and in the future. So I think that's
I always think that's that big part of the conversation. Instead of when you're trying to get that initial attention of somebody, right? Everyone's focused on the job. I have a job right now. I want to talk to you about this right now. Instead of going in the, well, your background is something we recruit. Can we have a chat about what you're doing next?
Yeah.
And just getting them in the conversation. And it may well be you do have to keep in touch with them for 2 years and pick them up in 2 years. But it's and that to me is that human, consultative, empathy, curiosity side, not the technology. The technology helps you keep in touch. Reminds you to keep in touch, not takes over. That's
for me,
my humble opinion.
You know things very well. What changed for me was about 15 years ago. My boss at the time said that instead of putting butts in seats right now, I want you to think about who we need to hire in the next 3 to 5 years. And I all of a sudden everything changed because I was more interested in that relationship. And so we were working on some interesting products which really helped. But I had compiled a mailing list of about 5,000 people for this new technology that we were having in gaming. And, we'd put a video up and 92% of the people would go and watch it. It was just, thousands. And so it helps. It's a big brand and it was an innovative change in product. But
it's still the irresistible play button, right?
Yeah.
So, they're hard to resist.
Yeah. So
they are. You might tune out. Like Marvin said, he signs up to webinars, he doesn't stay. But it's you get an email with a play button.
Yeah, it's true. And they say that's where it's going, so if you saw my office, I've got new lighting so that I can make videos and
well, Glenn and I have filters.
Exactly. Well, I was just kind of thinking, queue over 100 emails to Katrina on Monday with videos in them. You've just opened up the door there.
That's good.
You just opened up the door there, Katrina Collier. So read what you say, right? You just looked too enthusiastic about that. You were like, that play button.
Oh, you think he's going to send me a whole ton of emails?
Not me.
Yeah, that's your hook. The play button.
I'm lost. Do you think people will send me videos? I don't think they have the technology.
They will.
I keep having conversations with the likes of Audro and Interview and wondering why they're just doing the agency route as well. I think they're crazy. I think there's such a big market in-house for the video.
Right.
And it's like they're only focused on that. I just find that crazy.
Sometimes
it's just a question about the sort of tech side. So when you kind of land at a company and they may have some pre-existing kind of recruitment tech, how easy have you found it to either replace it or get more tech in, What's your general approach? If you land and you're like, this tech that you've got is awful. How do you go about kind of educating the business that they're using the wrong thing?
Yeah, it all starts with having a boss that is going to back your play. So otherwise it doesn't happen. I think certainly data and results are the keys to getting it done. I learned a long time ago that if you can start a pilot and test something, show it, then just subtly show it around, you'll get a groundswell of excitement. Yeah, because
Yeah,
everybody
cool.
wants to copy everybody. It's sort of like the, you know, when you think about Moneyball, that whole concept,
Yeah.
you know, how they changed the game. What they don't talk about is within 18 months, every other major league team had adopted the same kind of approach to metrics. So that competitive advantage didn't last very long. And, you know, so I think that's the thing that happens.
Great idea.
Yeah. Because we talk about this stuff. Yeah.
But it's also because sometimes the technology is forced upon the recruitment function or the HR function by the CTO. Who just goes, you will have this, and then it's like, when did you ever recruit, love? So and it's quite hard
turn
to
up. I mean, you turn up like day one, and they're like, we've got an ATS, off you go. You're like, great. Is it any good?
And
it's actually a posh spreadsheet.
Don't knock spreadsheets. Some of us still use them from time to time.
I does still use the rotary phone, though, to be fair.
Old
school.
I'm still getting over the fact that Katrina said I had more experience than the both of you combined. So I'm still trying
in recruitment. You do. I added it up. I'm sorry.
Well, you know,
this is not like my 1 to 3rd career. I didn't
really.
So I didn't hit the industry till 2003. I had I worked in the motor trade and the bank before that. And actually before that I worked for Kentucky Fried Chicken for 5 years. And honestly, one of my Facebook friends, he and I used to work together when I was 16 or something. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Kentucky Fried Chicken our time. And now, of course, it's called KFC, so you don't hear the fried word because apparently that's more slimming. Anyway, moving on. We're actually running out of time as always. It's so annoying.
Are we really? Okay.
We are.
We're trying to get in there.
Was there anybody like thinking that we may well have a few vendors listening over there on LinkedIn as well, particularly? Is there anything you'd love to say to them that you're just like, hi, I'm a recruiter, please stop creating products that do this, or could you talk to us about this, or is there anything? Because that was some email. I'm not sure we've covered even like 2 points. We'll turn you back again.
I think the question, I guess one of the biggest aha moments that I had over the last 3 or 4 years is many vendors don't use their own product.
Yeah.
I you know, you know, so we had a CRM vendor, and you know, they use Salesforce to manage their processes, and why that was important, I don't have a problem with that, other than, you know, the reason we bought the service is we wanted to be able to do direct marketing campaigns. And they bought Salesforce so that they could do those because their product didn't do them. And something as simple as that, or another vendor, you know, we were looking at their CRM product, and I said, you know, I called a friend of mine there, and I said, hey, you know, how's it work? He goes, I don't know, I use XYZ. And I'm going, huh? How do you do that? You know,
I can't believe he said that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Not a good salesman.
No.
Well, he wasn't a salesman. He was a practitioner. But
okay, got you.
Oh, right.
So, but I mean, I think that, you know, first of all, you have to prove, you know. So now I ask, well, how does your team use the product? You know. You know, show me. Let me talk to the users and see what the application is. I think that venture capitalists are also driving what kinds of products we're seeing in the marketplace. And you know, the last thing we need is another job
bingo
board
and magpies and shiny and
I mean, it's, you know, there's all these Me Too products out there because they're getting funded, but I don't think the demand is there, or they're going to try to unseat the market leader. That's pretty hard. Whereas you look at, you know, a few years ago, Jobs to Web was groundbreaking, and then I think Smashfly was groundbreaking in terms of building on what Jobs to Web had done, and so you see that kind of disruptive things, and that's cool. But but I think the pieces that go through our process, and I know you've thought about this a lot, Katrina, in your work, is in your writing, is that if we can use automation to do some of the tasks. So we're talking about, how do you better communicate with somebody? I think there's an
that little like remind us to do something, and the like. So I love that pre-boarding tool, N-boarder, I talk about all the time, because of that. That's such a big drama piece for us, isn't it? When the recruiters hand it off to HR to bring someone in, or the hiring manager, and nobody's doing what they're told. Like a tool like that, that's just so valuable because it reminds us and keeps in touch.
Yeah, we're doing automating the interviewing scheduling. We have a tool that we're going to go live first quarter with it, and I was on a testing team with it yesterday, and it's going to save them. Something that simple is going to save a lot of time, but
absolutely,
if the time saved allows us to be more human and better at connecting with people, right? I mean, that's really what it's about, is with all the things we have to know as recruiters, let's embrace the stuff that is going to make us better. And invest in the disruptive things and the helpful things, but other stuff,
But also, I think you hit the key there. Free us up to allow us to be more human, as I always say, be human. But I was in a conversation again earlier in this week, actually same person, who was, the way his organization operates is if that tool can basically replace a recruiter. So it actually means fewer resources. And I'm going, candidate experience doesn't work like that. That was frustrating, but there's a lot of that as well. If you're going to get a tool that's going to cost this much, how many recruiters are we giving up? It's like, no, that's not how that's supposed to work. But where else are you reducing it? Are you bringing in better people? Are they more productive? Are they hitting the ground running?
The thing, the aha moment I had was just recently. I was thinking about the large companies, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Facebook is making a commitment of 10% of their employee population is recruiters. So think about that. If automation worked, why are these people hiring people to work? Maybe goaling them at 15 hires a year. So it's so specialized. Amazon has over 2,500 recruiters. They aren't doing it because they like to hire people. They're doing it because automation has some limitations, and so you need to have that that relationship built, and they're building pipelines, and
that's the key thing, right? It's the relationship piece, because we've talked on it about it on previous shows, right? The relationship can't be maintained automated. Right.
No.
There's got to be that kind of human element. You may be able to kind of nurture to a degree the relationship with content, etc., but there has to be that human interaction.
It's still some's career.
And it's non-job content. That's the thing that drives me crazy is we don't go far enough with it. We have a talent value proposition that each brand should have, and that is why people come here. How's it going to impact their career? What's it in the life like? Not, one that would be touting ourselves. It's still basically for me, right? That's where it ends and ends. So
there you go. We're out of time. Oh, there were 2 comments. I missed the comments. Oh, I know. I just realized I missed the comments. Oh, it's Debbie just saying hello. Sorry, Debbie. I just realized I wasn't sharing it properly. That's our second last show of 2019, which is quite shocking.
Wow.
Yeah, I swear 2000 was yesterday, and we were worrying about the the crash that was meant to happen as we went into 2000. Anyway, everything was fine, of course. And of course, I was in Sydney, so we were the second lot as well. It just feels like yesterday. Anywho, next week we're having a more irreverency. We decided that we were going to do the list of non-recruitment trends, the BS trends for recruitment for 2020 with the ones and only Kim and Gordon Lockenberg. So it shall be absolutely hysterical and irreverent. Actually, we haven't had 4 people on, so who knows who'll get a word in. Could be quite hilarious. As well. Poor Glenn will be sitting there going,
I'm gonna have like a cue card.
A cue card. Hi,
little cue card.
We have to do hands up. Or say, actually, could you book up?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, Marvin, thank you so much. I know you had to wait quite a period of time from when I saw you in Seattle. I've gone blurry again. I don't even know when I saw you. It was a while back, wasn't it? It's been too long.
Yeah.
So thank you for so patiently waiting to come on the show.
Not a problem.
Great.
It was fun. Thank you. Good to meet you, Glenn.
Yes.
Yeah, good to meet you as well, Marvin.
We have to get you to the UK. Come and take some photos.
Yeah.
I need to do that. That's on my bucket list. So
yeah, that's one reason I love following you on Facebook and Instagram, etc. for your photos. Thank you, everybody. We shall see you at exactly the same time next week. And yeah, prepare for some irreverency and do wear a headset. So we shall see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.